Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So you know what this video is. We will be breaking down episode 2 stills that we got yesterday. So if you don't want to have anything spoiled for the show, I suggest you switch off this video and go and watch another one of my videos that won't spoil anything for you. So with that being said, if you are of course new around here and these are the sorts of things you love to watch and the content I'm producing at the moment, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below, as I'll be producing a lot more of these videos as well as explainer videos later on that will be releasing in the month. So yeah, let's get into these stills from episode 2. Right, let's start off with this one. And this is a photo of the Emond's Field group that accompany Lan and Moiraine after the events of Winternight from episode 1. So as we can see, they've kind of come out into the wilderness to escape from the events of Winternight and the Trolloc horde that came down for them. It's just really cool to see the group together in one, shot. We can see that they're all pretty much wearing the promo clothing that we saw from Entertainment Weekly a month or so ago now. And they, as you can tell, they have certainly, from the looks of it, bumped into a certain group. And I'm going to explain what that group is most likely to be in the next still. But it's really cool. You can see Moiraine is very much looking like she did not expect to see this particular group in this neck of the woods. And this is actually quite a change from the books, and it's an intriguing one to say the least. It's very much the same with Lan. He looks very much on alert, shall we say, being a warder. Everybody looks to be on alert. They can kind of tell whoever they're looking at aren't the friendly sort, are they? And so, yeah, I think it's very telling with the kind of posturing of Moiraine's stance as well as Lan's. I think this is a general feeling everybody has when you bump into a group of hostiles, shall we say it like that, where you kind of don't open your bodies. You know, when you're very comfortable with people, you open your body up completely and give the whole of your body to them in their forefront. As you can see in this photo, a lot of the gang here are very much squared off, so they're only showing like the side view of their bodies, and I feel that's one of those very kind of intricate and sort of hidden array aspects that you have to take note of when it comes to like the body language of the characters and the actors when they're doing these roles. It's really intriguing to see that. I feel they're definitely on the defensive. It wasn't a group they intended or expected to bump into, and I think only Lan and Moiraine, of course, understand and know what the group is. But yeah, as far as, say, the landscape, it looks really nice. We're kind of still in, I would say, the Two Rivers region still. It's very foresty, kind of just like how the Two Rivers are very much in a sense in a cul-de-sac, aren't they? They kind of like plonk in the middle when they have like loads of huge mountainous ranges around them, and the wilderness as well. It's really cool. So this next photo is what I believe showcases who they've bumped into. Now this is very interesting, as this is obviously quite a departure from the books, as we know that we're not going to be going into every little city or town from the books, and so they've had to make cuts, but cuts that are necessary to the show. And so they've had to kind of find ways of introducing certain aspects and elements that happened in these towns in different places, to save costs and to be able to, build the sets that they really had to build to make the show really impressive in these, situations. And so this is one of those moments where instead of meeting the Whitecloaks in one of the smaller cities that they go through in the Eye of the World, I can't remember off the top of my head which city it is they meet them in, or town, they're now going to meet the Whitecloaks out in the in the wilderness, in the countryside. I think it's a smart change to make, and I think it's quite evident just looking at these two photos that they're very much taken in the same neck of the woods when they were filming this. Like you can see the trees look extremely similar in the way they are are kind of situated around the landscape, as well as, of course, the ground is very similar as well. I think you can see what I'm getting at. They're very much in the same location as what I'm suggesting here. And I think just from the looks on both sets of factions' faces here, from the Whitecloaks, then you look back at Moiraine and Lan and the group there with them, you can see that they're definitely having an interaction here, and I'm fairly certain this is what's going on here. And it's an interesting change to make for the show. And yeah, we can talk a little bit more, I suppose, about the Whitecloaks and their attire. I suppose it's a departure from the books, as we've all spoken about before, but I think what they've done and how they've gone about it is really interesting. And this actually comes from an article I wrote from a costume designer yesterday, or the early hours of this morning, and he made, I believe it was he made a very good point on the costume design for the Whitecloaks. It's very simple, it's a very simplistic design, and it's intentionally done. If you think about them, they're kind of a religious cult in a sense, aren't they? They think everybody is dark friends, and they walk in the light, and the creator will, save them from harm's way. And so it's really ingenious if you think about that aspect of the Whitecloaks and how they believe in that they would then design their outfits in accordance with that, so to speak. Because think about it, if you're someone that believes that devotedly in the creator and being sheltered from all harm, why are you going to go out into the wilderness or into the world wearing these huge pieces of armor to protect your body if you believe that strongly in it? And I think it's a really clever design choice from the designers in the show to create the armor or the clothing for the Whitecloaks like that. It shows they have this confidence that nobody will attack them. And so yes, there are certain pieces of armor on them, most notably on the left-hand side of their bodies, which is an interesting design choice. I wonder why that is. Maybe that's something will be, spoken about in the show potentially, or it could just be to signify their rankings. And of course, we've got Aemon Vald and Joffrey Bornald. They're the most senior rankings in this group of Whitecloaks that we can see. So this portion of the armor is kind of like a showcase of that, to show their senior ranking in the Whitecloak hierarchy. But what this person was describing in the his article about the clothing, it actually comes and stems from something else that happens, and it's the actions they take more than their clothing that really showcases just how disgusting a group they are, and abhorrent that they are. And that really sets them apart and shows their true colours and nature in the world. And I'll get onto that in the next photo. But just before we do, straight away, what do you notice in this photo? Aemon Valda is once again kind of playing around with the Aes Sedai rings at his side. And you can clearly see, to me, this is like him taunting Moiraine, to say, look at how many Aes Sedai rings I have here. Look how many of your fellow sisters I have tortured or burnt alive and then taken their rings from them. I think that's a really nice touch to see here, and it's showing the sick and twisted side of these characters. So let's bring up that next photo, and it's when I saw this one, I was like, fuck, I cannot believe this. It's 100% confirmation of what I was saying. They burn Aes Sedai, and this photo just proves that once and for all. It's quite a shocking photo, but I have to say I love this change to the Whitecloaks. Instead of them being this kind of, in a sense, pathetic sort of group in the books where they're not really a viable threat for the most part. Yes, they have their moments, but it's not like a huge threat. They almost kind of brush to the side because they don't do the sort of damage a group that had been hyped up and written in a sense would be doing in the books. And I think that was a necessary change for the show. especially from how things are looking to be in the first season. They're looking to be the almost sort of one of the main factions that are the real enemies for the group. And I think to showcase them being this much more evil and sadistic and merciless is a really good change for this show, and it's one that I'm fully supportive and behind. I think it makes them a much more dangerous group, and one you will give a credible threat and take seriously to. Just looking here, as I said, this was a Yellow Sister, and she's obviously no doubt being tortured, and she will now be burnt alive. And as you can see on her clothing, she very much has been tortured. I would even suggest to say, as I spoke about in that, trailer breakdown that we got, Eamon Valder quite possibly could have cut her finger off with her Aes Sedai ring on. I think that would quite easily explain why there's so much blood on this portion of her dress. But yeah, really cool photo, and you can obviously see the Whitecloak tents as well. So let's move on from that. Up next, we'll just continue with the Whitecloak theme that we've got going on here. We've got a photo of Eamon Valder once again watching the Aes Sedai be burnt alive, and as you can see, this group is really going to be a sick group to watch, and I'm sure these scenes are actually going to be quite shocking to see unfold on the screens, because it's something I don't think we ever thought we would see. But as you can see, he seems very much at ease with seeing these sorts of situations. He's no doubt taken a sip of that goblet. I'm thinking it's wine or some sort of drink, obviously. But he looks like he's going to have a meal as well while watching this Yellow Sister be burnt alive. And it's just really kind of homing in on the kind of sickness that this group are going to be showcasing in this series. And I cannot wait to see it. I think they're going to be really well received by us book readers. I think it's a change that's really well done, I think. Right, let's now go to this photo here, and this is from a different portion of the episode, and I would say this is the immediate aftermath of Winter Night, when they're on the run from the Trolloc Horde, and of course the Draktar that is in the sky somewhere that we hear scream in this scene right after the events of Winter Night, the day after. This is now obviously taken in the night. I would say this is most definitely Tarren Ferry, and they're about to board the vessel to get across the river to the other side. There's not a huge amount going on here, but I'm fairly certain that's what's going on here. You can see Lan and Moiraine here, and you've got Rand right in the background with the rest of the group. And just everything here, this screams to me that scene, because it just all adds up with the section of the book and just what we're seeing on this photo as well. Next we have a photo of the group kind of in a resting situation is what I would call it. They're all taking a moment to catch their breath after traveling for quite a long time. It's a shot we've seen in some of the teasers and trailers on quite a few occasions now. They're very much on like the edge of a mountain or higher up region. As you can see, they're much higher up towards the clouds, and they're certainly looking towards somewhere or looking down on something. Yeah, I mean, just looking at all these photos, the scenery and just the landscapes and environments we're going to watch and experience is going to be absolutely beautiful to see on the screen. And I think we're going to get a much more vibrant sort of color palette, color grading with this show than we normally see with these sorts of fantasy shows, and I'm all for that. Next up, we've got a shot of Moiraine from that same sequence I have no doubt about. Not really much to say about that, just a lovely shot of Rosamund as Moiraine. Next up, we have a shot of Lan. Again, there's not a lot to take away from this photo, except he's got a little bit of an injury just to the top of his head here. As you can see, this patch of dry blood that's run down from his skull. We have a couple of photos of Matt and Perrin in the church that they filmed for a day or two in. Yeah, this is now looking like this could be not Shadow the Goth as I thought in the past, and more just one of those random places in their travel in episode 2 that they will come across and take a moment to, catch their breath in. Right, up next we have a photo of Perrin meeting the wolves for the first time. Now, this is really interesting. For those of you that don't know, they actually brought in trained wolves that have been used in productions before to kind of do the interactions with Marcus for these scenes. So it's going to be really interesting to me to see how they've gone about the interactions between Perrin and the wolves in this scene, because obviously it's easier for us to understand what's going on in the books than it is to be able to portray physically in the show. So that's going to be really interesting. And I also wonder whether Elias may be off screen to the left or right in the trees here. We've had no inkling of any sort of casting announcement for Elias, but maybe it's going to be one of those kind of shock moments where there has been someone cast, but they just haven't bothered announcing it because it's going to be such a small role. And it'll just be oh God, Elias is on here, kind of just for us people in the books to kind of know who he is. That could be something they might do. I don't really know if it is the case, but that might be cool. Also notice here, look at Perrin's right leg. He's definitely got an injury on the lower portion of that leg because he's obviously rolled up that trouser to kind of tend to the wound. I would say most likely from Winter Night that wound has come from. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how quickly Perrin's eyes also turn into like those golden eyes that we know him for, because we've already seen in the teaser yesterday with the Ran Matt Perrin one, his eyes have already kind of changed and undergone that transformation. So I wonder if it's going to be that a sort of immediate effect or something that slowly will happen over the course of the first couple of episodes, or the first episode since the introduction of the wolves, I should say. What else have we got? I think there's a few more photos, but they're kind of just shots of certain characters, and there's not really a lot to take away from them. So I'm going to end the video right here. I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like on the video, as it greatly helps the algorithm move this video to a greater audience. And of course, if you guys have any comments on these photos that you'd love to leave, please do so down below. Right guys, I'll catch you all in the video later today, or more likely tomorrow for Friday. We shall see.